before he'll start. Cody Mooney just 5 seconds behind will get on and get the belt moving on his assault runner.
And now Marquand Jones jumping onto that assault runner to round out your 1, 2, and 3 at about the 14-minute mark. And now Ruggieri down on runner number 18. Christian Harris onto the runner. Jay Adams now onto his assault runner.
Again, what makes this fun, I want to see if this revised version 4 years later of the 333, Craig Kenny will be able to best his previous time, 34:47, back in 2014. The other athlete in the heat that has competed individually at the CrossFit Games, Cody Mooney, was second onto the runner. Now it's going to be Ryan Sunshine joining the pack on the runner as well.
You'll watch the judge move that chest piece down the floor for a total of 4,800 meters, roughly 3 miles on that air assault runner. Craig Kenny out in front. And now the middle of your competition floor, moving all at the same time.
So Mike, you know, before regionals begins, we do a little bit of research on our competitors. Of all the athletes that posted their top 5K time, Mr. Ryan Sunshine indeed has the fastest, 18:30 from his open profile, his games page. It may have been the last of the heat onto the runner. We'll see if he can recover some ground. Clearly running is his strong suit. Or will Craig Kenny and Cody Mooney hang on to those top spots?
.1,200 meters in for Marquand Jones.
And I thought it was a great interview with Chris Hinshaw moments before this first heat started, Mike, where he talked about the difference between running on the assault runner versus running outside. Having that perspective of distance between your competitors, while they do have the marker, it's not entirely the same. And it can certainly mess with your mind when you're out there on the competition floor, not really knowing if you're going the same pace or not as your other 19 competitors. But hey, they train for the unknown and unknowable. They're ready for whatever's thrown their way. As it looks like Craig Kenny, judging by the chest piece placement, is in the lead. Marquand Jones not far off though, and the lane over also advancing their chest piece.
Craig Kenny coming up to the 2,400 meter mark, just slightly under that, right around 2,000 meters it looks like. Him and Marquand Jones. As Dylan was saying, each time they move that pylon, that chest piece, roughly one lap around a track. So the difference looks a little bit shorter than it really is.
I'll tell you, I tested this one not too long ago. By the time I got onto the run, I just wanted to give up. These guys are tried, true, and tested veterans, all vying for a spot to compete at the Reebok CrossFit Games in Madison. This also happens to be the first test of their regional weekend. And right now, Craig Kenny and Marquand Jones are stepping up to the challenge, both with at least 400 meters between them and the rest of the pack. I keep going back to that 2014 performance, 34 minutes and 47 seconds, as we're now past the 20-minute mark. Craig Kenny, more than a mile in.
Sliding forward is the chest piece for Kenny. Craig Kenny racking up a lot of accolades as a veteran competitor. One of only 9 competitors, if you remember, Dylan, back in the day, the 50s. That was an intense event. One of 9 competitors to ever even finish that workout, that event. Marquand Jones, right there behind your leader, Kenny, center of your competition floor. Getting rid of that top layer. Moving on to that CrossFit jersey. That's what I call no shirt. That's a CrossFit jersey. He's got enough wherewithal to take his shirt off, Dylan. I would only have enough power to signal an ambulance.
As Adam's chest piece now moving up, inching closer to Kenny and Jones. And just a spot away.
You're 1 and 2 right up on that jumbo screen. A nice good shot of them as they battle back and forth. Both within about 400 meters of each other.
And the race for third is on as well, Mike. Between Jay Adams, CrossFit Union Square, and Christian Harris, repping CrossFit Athletic Academy. Had his regionals cut short last year, but he's back and ready to contend for a spot on the podium. And this is heat 1 of 2 of your gentlemen. It's going to be a quick turnaround. We'll bring on out our top 20 seeded men through the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games Open.
Tristan Majorano now 2,000 meters in. Dylan, you said it a bit ago, that race for third, very tight, and I would say 4 through just about everybody else, all within about 400 meters of each other as well, crossing over the 24-minute marker.
Yeah, it looks like everyone 7th or lower is pretty darn tight. And now that some of these athletes going to get their wind back in their sails, they're recovering from the row and the dubs. Probably going to put a little more into the run in the second half of this 3-miler as Workman gets his chest piece moved forward. So check it out, lane 19, Mike. Josh Workman, the youngest individual male competitor, just 19 years old, making his individual regional debut. And as I mentioned earlier, on the contrary, the opposite end of the spectrum, David Charbonneau, 32, the oldest individual, just a lane between them. Well, Mike, I'm sure you all see it up there in the crowd as well. Disparity between 1 and 2, Marquand Jones. Now your lone leader. Can't miss him, lane 13. Just keeping a nice steady pace. Again, for them and for you, their lone indicator of perspective as to where they're at in the heat. Very different than running on the road, as Adams appears to have moved into second. So Jay Adams, Marquand Jones, looking to set the time to beat. Mike, I think you said it earlier. How many folks have finished through the European Regional? I don't think you caught me there. I think the number was 9. 9 finishers thus far through the European Regional. We're going to see if that number will increase here. So again, folks, 2 athletes separating themselves from the pack. The race for third has just gotten tighter as Chris Harris has his chest piece moved into the same position as your leaders. That would place him in 3rd overall. Jay Adams, chest piece moving on up. And you said, what's that event record, Mike?
So far, out of Europe, looks like it's 35:25 if my information is correct. But you can always keep up on your leaderboard, games.crossfit.com, as we move through week number 1 here in our regional events all around the world.
And there goes another chest piece. Moved on up. Adams, Jones, and Kenny signifying they have completed 3,200 of the 4,800 meters. That means they've got 1 mile to go, Mike. So we'll see if that top time will stand through the first of 2 male heats.
As we approach the 30-minute mark, your leading gentleman basically right in the center of your competition floor, battling back and forth. Kenny, Jones, and Adams. And Majorano now onto that leading lap.
As you look at the competition floor here at Albany at the East Regional, you'll notice the chess pieces being moved. They are moved forward every 400 meters or a quarter mile of this 3-mile run, as we are kind of in the back half of this 3-mile run. The 2,400 meter mark you see is where the athletes have all passed but a couple. Right now we have Jay Adams with about a 10-second lead over Marquand Jones, and about a 45-second lead over Craig Kinney, who took the early lead. That's Marquand Jones you're looking at on your screen right now. Jones currently in second place, had a lead there for a second. Once they got done with the double unders, just to recap everything, Craig Kinney had the lead getting out the double unders, followed by Cody Mooney and Marquand Jones. At the 1,200 meter mark, it was Kinney and Jones. Once they got to the 2,400 meter, Kinney maintained the lead, but Jones had closed the gap, and Jay Adams started to really make a move in this event. Then Tristan Majorano was sitting in 4th place, but now Jay Adams has taken the lead again, followed by Marquand Jones and Craig Kinney. And Tanya Wagner, of course, joins me, the 09 champ, and it is just a long 3-mile run here. This is where the event is in the triple threes.
And the most exciting part of triple threes back in 2014 was the final sprint. It was the final foot race to the end. It's not going to be as dramatic because it's going to be on the runner. So it will be really important for these athletes to really push, because they won't know exactly where their fellow competitors are. But we were nearing that part, and I'm anxious to see. When I first heard this announcement and heard that it was going to be this event and it was going to be on the runner, the end was what I was wondering, what is this going to look like?
Here are your leaders right now. Let's talk about these guys. Jay Adams on the left, shirtless with the navy blue shorts. He's in lane number 12. He is 16th in the Northeast out of CrossFit Union Square, New York. He's 30 years old, 5'10", 195 pounds. He's been on a team in the regionals 5 times. He's been an individual once. Marquand Jones in lane 13, shirtless with the gray shorts there. Right now, Jones in second place, 17th in the Northeast out of CrossFit Roseland of Roseland, New Jersey, 28 years old, 5'11", 200 pounds, finished 9th in the Southeast Regional back in 2014. And then Craig Kinney in lane 14, right side of the tank top black shorts. He's a familiar name and an interesting story. I'll tell you about it here in a second. 18th in the Northeast out of Brantford, Connecticut, CrossFit Brantford, 31, 6 foot 203. Was at the Games in 2014 where he finished 11th. He's got a football background, in a regional veteran. Back in 2014 in the 50s workout, which started out on the rower, then went to box jumps, deadlifts, ring dips, then you backtracked it back to the rower. One of only 9 people worldwide to finish the 50s in 2014, which I thought would play well here. Now, he got out to a blistering pace, Tanya. We saw him on the run, was way ahead, maybe got out a little too high.
Well, he was also the only athlete who went to the 2014 games in this heat. He finished the triple threes when he did it in Carson in 34 minutes, 47 seconds. So he had that experience. So I have to imagine that played into some of that confidence going into this event. He knew how it felt back then. It's years later, but he was very aggressive coming into the run, and I'm sure some of that had something to do with it.
And that was your 3 leaders. Again, Adams, Jones, and Kinney. But all of a sudden, lane 19, it's going to be Josh Workman who is taking the lead, and Workman is down close to finishing this thing, and we're sitting at a 34-minute mark. The event record earlier today in Europe was Sigurdur Pasterson in 35:25, so he's going to have an opportunity here. And again, it's Josh Workman in lane number 19. He is shirtless with the gray shorts, 33rd in the Northeast, out of Norwalk, Connecticut, CrossFit Norwalk, just 19 years old.
He's our youngest male competitor on the individual side. That youth is just showing us right now some of the other younger athletes, but 19 is the youngest. He is able to hang off of this long event.
Would you believe this young man has collapsed both lungs, got into CrossFit, just loved it, and right now has an outside chance maybe to set the event record.
And that's the thing, when these kids at 19 years old have been CrossFitting for majority of their teenage life, and they come into where they are developed and then they can compete at this level, and they're old enough to compete in the individual competition. It's so impressive to see what they're able to do just because they've been doing it for so long. It's such an important stage in their development.
Greg Kinney, Marquand Jones right behind him, but there's your leader right there on the very front of your screen, Josh Workman. He's got about 10 seconds for that event record, but he's looking for an event lead here and a heat win. He has got just the 400 meters remaining. One more time around the track for old Josh Workman here on the assault runner.
What got Josh Workman here was the fact that all of those individual men that went team declined their invitation. So he was sweating that out for some time when they were figuring out all the leaderboards and who was getting invited. So what an accomplishment to be able to make it here and then make a name for yourself in this heat, coming in from at the very bottom.
And until this last 1,600 meters, the last mile, really wasn't a guy we were watching. He was hovering around the 5th or the 6th spot. We were all watching Jay Adams, Marquand Jones, Craig Kinney, but Workman whipped the lead. Now Kinney and Jones are also on their last 400 meters as well, but Workman had about a 30-second lead on Marquand Jones and Craig Kinney. So Workman starting to look down at the monitor, which also tells me and over to his judge that he is nearly done. And all of a sudden, Craig Kinney out sprinting. Craig Kinney will come in. He will be in at 36:22 and Marquand Jones. So Workman, who took a brief lead, all of a sudden, Craig Kinney, with that regional and games experience, knew he saved some of the tank for that final 400.
That's the push, and it's exciting because we don't know who's going to step out first once their chest piece is moved, but very exciting. That's so impressive for Craig Kinney to keep that pace, keep that push. First one on the row, or first one on the run, didn't expect him to hold that, be able to hold that like he did.
So maybe Josh Workman made his push a little too soon there and then died out that last 400 meters. That's apparently what happened, because Craig Kinney, I mean, he had a pretty good lead on Kinney and Jones, and both Jones and Kinney came in right around 36.5 minutes. So it's Craig Kinney who has the early event lead, and he's going to walk it around now and get a little bit of a breather, and still waiting for Workman to finish things up. And again, Workman's still not down to his last, so Workman's going to drop down to 4th, but boy, Workman made a little noise for himself. And here we come, that's Jay Adams. He's going to get in 3rd place in heat number 1. So to go Kinney, Jones, and Adams, your first 3 that are in.
And Adams last year, his first individual appearance at the regional, taking 24th at the region. He's hoping to move up this year.
Right there in lane 8-10, Michael Ruggieri will come in. Now we'll see a few more people making their way across. I believe that was Samuel Carnier coming in. And now here comes Workman. Josh Workman, who we thought was floating with the event record, kind of died out there on that last segment of the assault runner, but hey, for a while, he had the heat lead.
Still impressive with this group of men that he's running against. And not really knowing where you are. Different when you're out on the field, or different when you're out on the road and you can see exactly. And the feeling of passing someone, using that adrenaline when you're able to shift places or chase them down and catch them. When you are just looking at a screen and you see a chess piece moving, it is so hard. Not quite the same motivation.
So again, as we just wanted to check in with you, it's Craig Kenny that gets the heat win, followed by Jones and Jay Adams. They were our leaders. We got a little noise there from Josh Workman, but it begins at Holtz, Kenny, Jones, and Adams. A nice little sprint there in the top lanes in 4 and 5 as Harris and Mooney. Mooney, a games vet, again 6 on the run, swim, run a year ago in Madison. So just want to check in with you, update what's going on here. This is Heat 1. Ty and I will be back for our full coverage of Heat number 2. But right now, you get a little less than 10 minutes remaining in Heat 1 here of Event 1 of the individuals.
And next it's going to be Corey Luddy.
Majorano able to run across the line down in lane number 16, right around 40 minutes. Handful of athletes still out here running with plenty of time remaining to finish up a 49-minute time capped event.
And next it will be Bean Yo wrapping up event number 1. And next, Ryan Sunshine. So 3 athletes still out here working hard. Ladies and gentlemen, can we rally behind them a bit? Let them know you're behind these 3 competitors. The start to their regional weekend. Looking to wrap up. Lane number 8, Paul Tremblay. 5-time regional competitor. 1-time individual CrossFit Games competitor. Did this event in 2014 out in Carson, California. We got our next finisher, Mike.
Charbonneau able to come across the line right around 41.50 for David Charbonneau.
So that leaves but 2 competitors, Paul Tremblay and Owen Bernstein. Looking to close this thing out with about 6.5 minutes remaining on the time cap. Again, Paul Tremblay back in 2014 with a time of 41:26. Well into his last 400 meters now.
Tremblay with about 400 meters remaining. Less than.
They gotta be getting close, folks. Tremblay again is in his last 400 as he's got Marquand Jones and Cody Mooney cheering him on through these last few meters.
Five minutes remaining, Dylan. 5 minutes to go. Bernstein on to his last 400 meters.
There's the hand up in the air for Tremblay as he starts to leg it out a little bit more. Again, the Games veteran with now just 2 fingers in the air. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make some noise for him as he heads down the floor. Paul Tremblay.
Your final competitor out here working with about 4 minutes remaining. His other competitors rooting him on. Out of CrossFit Invictus Back Bay, Owen Bernstein looking to finish up that final 400 meters.
And Mike, I know we talk about this quite a bit, but just so awesome seeing the sportsmanship of the rest of the field. Want nothing more than for Owen to finish up as they're right there with him on that assault runner. Watching him through these last few meters. That is what it's all about, folks. 46 minutes in, 3 minutes to go, but Owen's not going to need it. You can see those legs picking up some steam.
Albany, make some noise for your final competitor, Owen Bernstein. And that will do it for heat number 1.
(13:24). So it only took him a little over 3 minutes, about 3 minutes 4 seconds to complete those double unders. Now you can only touch those handles to get that initial push. You cannot touch the handles anymore.
They're not allowed to touch the screens or the handles. Even if the screen doesn't pop on immediately, they're not allowed to touch anything else on that runner.
Vasquez at 13:49, and now here comes Vellner at 13:52. So Vasquez has taken second place by about 4 seconds over Vellner, but again, Vino had a 15-second lead on Vasquez. Actually, a little bit, no, that's about 15 seconds, excuse me, over Vasquez, and he's expanded his lead on Vellner by about 18 seconds. All right, now you'll see the chest pieces laid out on the floor. This is a 3-mile run. To convert that into the metric increments, that's 4,800 meters. They're the big black markers you see on the left side of your screen. 1,200 meters, they go 12, 24, 36, 4,800 meters. In between there are smaller markers that represent every 400 meters. There will be a judge that will move that chess piece along on the competition floor to help you keep up and help us spot and let you know who currently is in the lead. But again, it's Vino, Vasquez, and Vellner right now, the top 3 here in heat number 2 of the triple threes. We're going to have a little while here now, Tanya, so let's talk a little bit about the Games athletes, the regionals athletes, but let's talk about your CrossFit athlete at your local box. We all watch the regionals, we watch the games. We may know a regional athlete or a coach that may have been to the games, and boy, it's so fun to watch regionals and the games. I would like to try one of these events. I'd like to copy it, see how I need to scale it. For regional games caliber athletes, this comes down the run. We saw it in 2014, we saw it this year. For your normal athlete, this might be a double under kind of workout that could really expand the time. As a coach, Tanya, how do you talk to athletes here about How many double unders do you need to do? Do you need to scale it? How's this workout going to go for you?
This event, first of all, is a great one to replicate at the box. It is one that everybody can do. Even if you don't have double unders or you're not proficient at them, you can still scale this one great. It's a great aerobic test, and it's an event that you can really get a taste of what the athletes are going through. Even if you're not at their caliber, you can put a time cap on it, work within their time domain, and kind of feel what they feel, and then you can get an appreciation of what they really did out there. So first, you can scale those double unders. If you don't have 300 or the 300 double unders would take you a half an hour to get through, you need to scale them. So maybe even scaling 150 for some people. But really, you need to take no more than, I would say, 3.5 to 4 minutes on your double unders. So if you don't really know what you can do in that time, before you do this workout or redo this event, then you would give yourself a test with double unders, do them for about 3 to 4 minutes, see about what the ballpark is. If you're at about 150 to 200, go ahead and do that, man.
Jeffrey Adler here in lane 18 has jumped out now, 8th in Canada East, 98 worldwide, out of CrossFit Wonderland of Montreal, Quebec, just 23 years old, 5'9", 189 pounds. So Adler now has overtaken Vellner, Vasquez, and Vigneault. As you take a look at his monitor, counting the meters, a little over 1,100 into this thing. Boy, it looks like it's just chewing the meters up, unless you're the person on the runner. Then it looks like the meters are not going. It's a different perspective whether you're watching and you're the one running.
It's hard to pay attention as the athlete to see, because there are 20 men out there. So it's hard to know exactly who's moving what chest piece, and when they get farther down the lane, where exactly are they? So you really do need to be aware of multiple things here. It's not as easy as just running next to somebody. You know someone just passed you, so now I want to keep, as long as I can keep my eye on them, I know where they are. It's not quite like that.
And Vigneault just calmly trying to breathe, keep the head up, let those lungs expand. Most of the athletes about 1,000 meters into the run. There goes Vasquez. He's going to be the first, followed by Vigneault now. Those are your first two athletes right around 1750 that are into the 1,200 meter mark. Here comes Vellner as well. There's Vasquez. Again, he's the first one to move that chest piece, so he is in the lead. Not by a lot, though, maybe by a second over Vigneault. Only about a 10-second lead, I believe, over Vellner. So 3 athletes, and there's Adler. He now has his moved across. So your top 4 are Anthony Vasquez, Alex Vigneault, Patrick Vellner, and Jeffrey Adler. Your top 4 right now here in heat number 2. Again, a 49-minute time cap in this one. About 36:30 was our time earlier today for Craig Kinney in heat number 1. And that was an interesting race. We'll see it here. The jockeying for position on the run, because it looked like they were going to run away with it, and then Craig Kinney all of a sudden he got challenged, overtaken. He saved some for the last 400-meter sprint. He came out of nowhere thinking, you know, he's dropped the 3rd or 4th and just blew everyone away on the last 400.
Well, and that's what's impressive, to be able to hold on to that pace and hold on to that run. But these athletes do know their bodies. They know their pacing at this level and this far into the games, being around, the regionals being around as long as they have. They do know their pacing. They do know where they should be at. And a lot of them do know their bodies, whether they're going too fast or if they pick a pace they can maintain. So your best runners also can maintain a little bit that more aggressive pace.
There is Juan Lemaire again, the guy finally, he's been mentioned, but still most of the attention's been put on Vigneault and Vellner. But Juan Lemaire, 4th in the Open out of Tonic CrossFit in Quebec, 195 pounds. He's 24 years old, 30th of the regionals last year. He was on Tonic CrossFit's team in 2016. They finished 20th, but boy, he's put in some work to jump up 4th in the entire world. Well, he's staying upright, just trying to stare ahead and get those deep, big breaths in.
When these athletes are on the runner, that's what I'm looking for, just their cadence and their tempo. That's the difference with the runner versus on the regular ground. You can't change your cadence and your tempo that much without being affected or tripping up a little bit. It catches you. So they've been well-versed enough on this machine that they know how that works. It's just for the long haul of 3 miles, to be able to keep that is very impressive, because it does tax you, it does push you in a different way.
for those that have played around with the triple threes at your local gym and you don't have one of these assault runners, it's a different beast. You're getting through your run on flat pavement or ground, wherever you're running. If you've not had a chance, and these are you're starting to see these in more boxes worldwide, but still several don't have these. If you've never had a chance to get on them, you're not going to have any trouble going fast on these things. You're trying to slow it down.
And that's usually because people just aren't as efficient with their running as they are with some of the other technique, because you can move, you can still be moving on a flat ground, and even with poor technique, you can still be covering distance. Doesn't mean you're running efficiently or properly, but when you get on a runner like this, it shows again your weaknesses, shows if you're not an efficient runner, because it is that much harder.
Well, two guys we want to talk about here. They're going to have something to say this weekend. We're two veterans from the 2017 games. On the left side of your screen in the yellow shorts and the gray top, that is Michael Palumba. He was second in the Northeast this year. CrossFit Exceed out of Greenwich, Connecticut, 22 years old, 5'9", 195 pounds, 31st of the games last year. Qualified by 5 points over Austin Spencer for the 5th and final qualifying spot. Tim Paulson there, shirtless of the black shorts in lane number 10, a games vet from last year too. He finished tops in the Northeast, 9th in the world in the Open out of CrossFit Palace in Ithaca, New York. 28, 6'1", 215 pounds, 19th place finish in Madison. 5-time regional athlete. He is coached by David Carbonneau, who is also in this regional.
Carbonneau was just in the previous heat, and looking at those numbers, again, I have to go to the Worldwide Open for these guys. Tim Paulson, 9th in the world. Michael Palumba, 11th Worldwide Open. These numbers are incredible for athletes that have been to the games just one time. So really, his second year to the games, the second time after that first year, you really get that confidence.
There he is. It's Jeffrey Adler. Gave a big smile and a wave to everyone. You do not often see that in a test, an event like this. But Adler, the regional rookie, enjoying things right now. Now, experience pays off in these things, so hopefully Adler doesn't get out too hot. But right now, he's enjoying the heat lead by a few seconds.
He's happy to be here. That's what that smile was about. You usually don't see a smile on the air runner either, but that's just rookie right there. That's okay. That's the grin. That's allowed.
Well, as coaches have told me, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, this is not sustainable. You have to enjoy your fitness, whether you're doing it in the box or if you are doing it in a competition. Tyler Lee here, 9th in the Canada East region out of CrossFit Resurrection in Barrie, Ontario, 28 pounds. Is a regional rookie. He was 106 in the Open Worldwide. So that is pretty stout to be just outside the top 100 in the Worldwide Open, which featured well over 300,000 participants.
Well, and that's it. You know, that also gives you that confidence each year. Not only are you comparing yourself against your own region, and there's so many changes at the regional level as the teams come into the regular RX competition, but then also when you can compare yourself in the world and you keep seeing yourself move up against these athletes that have been to the games year after year, it just builds that confidence. It gives you that boost that you belong here, and you get to see some of that translate when they actually get here to do their workouts.
Pat Vellner currently in second place because Jeffrey Adler's got about an 11-second lead on him in this heat, and then we just showed you Tyler Lee a while ago. Lee about 15 seconds off the pace, so right now it's Adler, Vellner, and Lee. Vigneault hanging in there right behind Vellner, but again, Adler, Vellner, and Lee, your top three, and Adler with about an 11-second lead over Pat Vellner, who has overtaken Vigneault, who led this thing for a while.
And that was what we were wondering. That's what I suspected. I didn't know with the deliberate breaks. Is that why he was doing that, keeping that pacing? I can only imagine that was his guess and what the plan was, but he didn't know. Also, you never know what Vigneault can do or what he was actually going to do. That's why any of these events, it's always about what you can do. These tests of fitness, you can't get caught up looking at what everybody else is doing. Just like when you have somebody new come into the box, everybody thinks that people are going to look at them. No, you have to be concerned with what you're doing, getting through your own movement, your own struggles. And that's the same thing here in the competition. You have to be aware of your competitors so that you know when to make a move, but you can't play somebody else's game. You can't go at their pace and expect to keep up and do the best you can do.
Like Jeffrey Adler, he started clapping again, looking up. He's enjoying it. He is attacking this test. He's attacking the event. You like the wreck. Now, we talk about experience and don't go too crazy if you're a rookie, but hey, I like the reckless event. What did Matt Chan say that year in Test Fitness video? You know, take chances. Go for it. Take some chances.
You'll learn more. When you take chances, you'll know what you're capable of doing, because sometimes you win and sometimes you learn more about what you're capable of doing when you do take those risks. And it's fun to see that. Sometimes it backfires, but when you're having fun, it really, usually the having fun part never hurts you. It's just more if you can have fun and stay in the competition and remember what the whole weekend is about.
It remains Adler, Vellner, and Lee, but it looks like Vellner has closed this gap by a few seconds, and right there in third, Tyler Lee just cruising along. Now you're starting to see a little bit heavier breath out of Tyler Lee here. That's to be expected. Vasquez moves forward. Gervais moves forward as well. So again, Tyler Lee starting to see that heavy breath as these athletes are about midway through. Again, they move the chest pieces up every 400 meters. They're trying to equal 4,800. Lane number 17, Josh Gervais, is right now in the top 5. He has quietly started to move up. 7th in Canada East, 81st worldwide. Strongville CrossFit in Welland, Ontario. He is 26 years old. 10th in the East in 2017. So even though we haven't mentioned, he's definitely a contender here this weekend. Grew up playing AAA hockey and the Welland minor league hockey system. And he's got some regional experience. Moved up from 16th in 2016, 35th in the East back in 2015. So he has made some big jumps, a 9-rep improvement, and then moved up 16 spots from 26th to 10th last year.
Go in the right direction, and that's just it. When you're not yet when you haven't peaked yet at your games or at your regional, it's exciting to see some of these names and continue to improve with the competition level that's improved overall here in the East.
So again, you've got Adler, Vellner, Lee, and now Gervais, and Adler moves this piece forward another 400 meters. Vellner right behind him. He's closed it to about 2 seconds. So there's Pat Vellner. He has closed the gap. He has made up about 10 seconds on that assault runner. Nick Zielinski is on the competition floor, and he has watched Patrick close the gap.
Yeah, guys, I was able to talk to Vellner as he was warming up, getting ready for this event. He said his game plan for this event was simple. Just learn from your practice and don't get too excited. It's a lot easier to stay in your lane, so to speak. You can't see who's where. You can't see who is where on your row or on your run. So just be consistent. He said an event like this is a little bit of an outlier in regards to classic CrossFit, so you can't get too high or too low. We saw Patrick Vellner get off the rower, very methodical, broke up his double unders, very methodical. He seems to have picked up his running pace a little bit, but he's never veering to his right or to his left. He's staying eyes forward, kind of look in that tunnel vision, you know, and he hasn't moved, and he's close to taking over the lead in this event.
Thanks a lot, Nick. Again, he's within about 2 seconds of Adler. Lee in third, but Gervais, and here comes Vasquez back. He had an early lead, a top 3, and kind of fell off the pace, but all of a sudden, Anthony Vasquez back. He and Josh Gervais moved their chest piece up at the exact same time. And now Alex Vigno just moves up into this next section of 400 meters. So Vigno's really started to fall off pace.
Vigno, his tempo, his cadence has also changed just a bit. You can see the upright position. He's not as lean forward as he was when he first started. So when you start to see that, start to see the breathing changes, when you know he's feeling it differently than he was when he first started. And that's not a good sign when you're at the end of the race here, when we need him to pick it up, when he'll need to sprint, because anybody else that has left enough in the tank, in the legs, in the lungs, they're gonna give it their all, and I think we're seeing that with Vellner.
Vellner and Adler are right at the exact same pace. The chest piece has moved forward to 3,600 meters, and now it is a dead tie between Patrick Vellner and the upstart rookie Jeffrey Adler in lane 18. And up at the top of your screen, Tyler Lee has moved his piece up as well. So we've got a really good three-athlete race, and here you go, Jeffrey Adler. He's been clapping and smiling. Not so much fun at this point now, as now you have that serious fatigue look on his face. But I am impressed with it, and we talk about how this assault runner forces you into good form. If you have bad form, you're going to go too quick. You're going to be sloppy and all over the place.
And efficiency, just with your breathing, lung-wise too. Don't forget what they've done, the rower, the double unders, what that does to your lungs. You have to have the aerobic capacity in your lungs to be able to keep that pace and keep pushing.
So we will see Josh Gervais, and now in lane 19, Peter Shaw move up in a tie for 4th place. So now we have a new name coming in. Peter Shaw, he's 11th in Canada East, and he's out of CrossFit NCR in Ottawa, Canada. And all of a sudden, he is starting to push forward. Again, it's Adler and Vellner tied, but there we go. Peter Shaw, 3-time regional, part owner of NCR, Paul Tremblay and Reza Mishkouri. He's on the seminar staff, has a hockey background, but hey, if you're going to train a Paul Tremblay, you're probably going to do all right here at the regionals. There is your event record from the Europe Regional again, 35:25:02. Everyone, I believe, looked at the leaderboard earlier today from Europe and just double checking. Everyone able to get in under the time cap. So again, Vellner and Adler moving it up at the same time, so they will stay tied here. And we're getting near the end. They're all past 3,600 meters, so it's your last mile here on the triple threes. Lee moves it up. He's about 6 seconds off. Lee could be lingering there, waiting for that last second push while everybody watches Adler and Vellner.
And this is where, you know, what Nick just said that Vellner spoke to earlier is probably with 1 mile, it's tempting also to push because I've 2/3 done. I could just one last final mile, but a mile still, that's a lot with the work that you've done. So to be able to hold back a little bit, and I'm anxious to see if Adler can do that and just maintain this and keep it for that last mile. He's looking strong, but just like previous heat, you know, we weren't quite sure if.
Well, Vellner just looks as calm as he can be right now.
He does. He still hasn't turned it on yet. You don't see yet the face change, the expression. He's not in that same distress like some of the others.
There's Vigneault just off to his left in lane 11, peeking over at Vellner's Bondren. And Vigneault had an early lead in this thing off the rower and into the double unders. In fact, on the runner for a while, but since then, they have put some space. Gervais and Shaw moved it forward. So again, it's Adler, Vellner tied for first. Lee, Gervais and Shaw, and Yoel will move his up. Nicholas Yoel, 6th in Canada East, now has joined the party up in the top 6.
Hey guys, you know, we're watching these guys get through this event. We're 33:15 into this event now, and you can see the event taking its toll on these athletes. The body language of these guys has changed slowly. They're running slower, they're running more inconsistently, but one person who we've talked about already has stayed consistent. It's been Patrick Vellner. It looks like to me he's picking up his pace. He's gotten faster as he's gone on this run. So that consistency, that stay in your lane mentality he's had, it looks like it might pay off for him here in event 1.
Well, it's Vellner who has overtaken Adler by 1 second, and Lee still hanging in there, about 5 or 6 seconds remaining. Again, that event record 35:25, so we're not far from it. A little less than 2 minutes, about a minute and a half. But again, Vellner has overtaken Adler, but it's still very close, within a second. And now it looks like Vellner's starting to pick that pace up.
He is, and his body language, like Nick just said, his torso is leaned forward. His head is forward, his shoulders are more forward than his competitors who are more upright. The more upright you are, think that's how you are when you're walking. But when you want to run, good runners are going to have that forward lean, and that is what he's doing. That's what's going to make this runner go and going to push him here to go faster. And the fact that he has that left shows he knew what he was doing, that he stayed in his lane. He kept that pacing and the consistency where he needed to for the majority of this event.
Vellner in the middle, and here's Adler on the near side of your screen to your right. He is in second place by a second. They are neck and neck. If Adler has another push left, he could overtake him. Vigneault all of a sudden has caught up with Shaw, so Vigneault's pulled back in a third, Shaw at fourth, Gervais in sixth, because Lee is still lingering over in lane 2. I'm going to be excited to see if Lee makes a push, but here's Patrick Vellner again. See if he can get these early 100 points here in event number 1. Boy, Vigneault had fallen off base, but he has kicked it in. Vigneault knows what he's doing. Vellner moves the piece forward at 35-14, and he has expanded that lead over Adler. The seconds ticking away. Adler moves his forward, so it's a 12-second lead for Vellner. He has kicked it in here over Adler. Here comes Lee moving his forward at 35 seconds, 35-35, so a 21-second lead over Lee. So it's Vellner's now. 12 seconds is a pretty significant lead with 400 meters remaining.
And he continues to push. His feet, just the speed of his feet hit the tread. He's moving the arms. This is the sprint. It looks different on here, but this is the push. This is the sprint here at the end.
And again, around 36:30 was the time for Craig Kinney. Against that's unofficial. You'll have to go to the official leaderboard at games.crossfit.com once we have finished this event. But right now, Vellner at least is looking like he's going to take the heat. I'm not sure if he'll have the event win. We'll have to wait till the officials number come out, but it looks like he's going to have the heat win. And now, for the first time, you really see Vellner in the middle on the screen, really leaning, really making that hard push to finish this thing off.
He saved it when he needed it. And we're just waiting for him to step off.
All of a sudden, Adler's hand goes up down to the bottom of the screen. He may have saved it. Waiting for the judge's hand to go up. Lee's hand is up at the top of the screen, but it's going to be Patrick Vellner. He is going to outrun the rest of the heat. He is in, and he will have the heat win at just under 37 minutes.
That was Vellner versus the event. He did not care what anybody else did. 20 lanes out there. He worried about his lane, his runner, his double unders, and his rower.
Here comes Lee. He will finish second, just a couple of seconds ahead of Adler. So about 37:20 for Lee and about 37:22. These are unofficial times for these athletes. Vellner did what he was supposed to do, but really impressed to see a couple of rookies and Tyler Lee and Jeffrey Adler make some noise here in event 1.
The second half of that run is really where we saw those three guys, Adler, Vellner, and Lee, take over and kind of take charge and flip-flop back and forth for the lead, but they were able to maintain for the second half of that run. And they are feeling it. Wow.
Alex Vigneault made a push, but they just moved his marker to the last 400. So Vigneault right now trying to stay up at the top of this heat. I wouldn't say doing damage control. You got 500 points for the rest of the weekend, as he had to do some catching up, and just see him really laboring in the middle of your screen, trying not to fall too far off the pace. But again, it's going to be Pat Vellner finishing ahead of Tyler Lee and Jeffrey Adler, your top three here in this heat. Right now, those are the only three athletes that have finished up. We have some more of the hands up. Judges putting them down to the last few meters. Here we go. And in lane 17, that's Josh Gervais. And in lane 19, Trevor James. There's a Games veteran from CrossFit Milford, whose team's going to be vying for a spot. And there's Peter Shaw. It looks like Vasquez, who made a little noise earlier, and still a very good top 10 heat finish here. Going to put himself in pretty good position after one event.
He was first off the row, used that to his advantage, and tried to hold on to the lead as long as possible with those strong runners. Just caught him and went past.
Joey All is now across in a little over 39 minutes. Vigneault there in lane number 11. And next to him was Tim Paulson and Michael Palamba, two Games veterans from a year ago. And right now, some of these rookies making a little bit of noise. Still a long way to go. And that's going to be Tim Paulson. Tim Paulson is going to jog in about 39-39. Little foot race to the end. Lane 15, that was Kyle Kant moving in ahead of Chase Smith over in lane number 7. Plenty of time. They have a little under 10 minutes remaining, and now Vigno trying to finish things up. So Vigno is going to come in. Big foot race. Vigno will lose that sprint to the finish. But Vigno had an early lead, and I'm not sure Alex is really going to be happy with maybe the finish here. There's still 500 points to go, but he got out really well on the rower, on the double unders, fell behind on the runner, got into the race. He made up some time, but I think that push with about 1,000 meters left really cost him.
It was just a little too much. Oh!
13 and 14, that's going to be Jean-Simon Wallimera and Alexander